For as long as I can remember, I've wanted to learn Japanese. As a young child, I fell in love with anime like Sailor Moon and Pokemon. Many years later, I ended up working in Japan as a summer camp counselor. This time, I fell in love with the country itself. I have been trying to study Japanese for over a year, but my efforts never got beyond the occasional time spent with a learning app or occasionally asking my tutor the same questions pretty much every session. I realized that something needed to change. So I took to Instagram, announcing that I would do a Japanese challenge. I would learn enough of the language in 2 months to pass a practice JLPT N3 test, which is equivalent to an upper intermediate or advanced level of the language. I was excited. I set myself a schedule to study for 2 hours every weekday and 5 hours every weekend, but I quickly burned out. The amount of books I needed to go through was insurmountable. I couldn't focus. I would sit down to study and find myself browsing through Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. I had no capacity to work hard. Well, I have found a solution. Cal Newport's book, Deep Work, is filled with exactly the strategies I need in order to learn how to focus hard and study properly to achieve such an ambitious learning goal. If you would like to develop the same kinds of skills, stay tuned because I'm going to tell you exactly how, step by step. Hi, I'm Ria, a communications lead at a rising Y Combinator startup, and as you've already figured out, a big fan of anime and Japan. On this channel, I will teach you the strategies to excel in your startup job, develop new skills, and pursue your passions. Let's go! You might be wondering, what is deep work in the first place? Well, I've actually made a whole other video about it, which you can watch. There's a link in the description. But for the purposes of this video, the quick and dirty definition is that deep work is work that is done with full concentration for long, uninterrupted periods of time with big intensity and leveling up your skills. In order to figure out how to work hard enough to actually learn Japanese at the pace that I want to, I needed to follow Cal's 4 disciplines of execution. I will tell you what they are, but first, my tea of the day. My tea of the day is Twinings English Afternoon Tea. A classic, simple but elegant. Discipline number 1. Focus on the wildly important. For me, the wildly important is learning enough to pass this test. That comes with a specific vocabulary list, with certain grammar items, and with certain Chinese characters, kanji in Japanese, that I need to be able to read. Yes, it would be nice to learn more advanced and specialized vocabulary or to know some fancy grammar tricks, but that is not important for my goal, so I'm only going to focus on the material within textbooks that drives me towards this test. Discipline number 2. Act on the lead measures. Cal defines 2 types of measures. A lag measure is what you're actually trying to achieve. So in my case, the lag measure is my level of Japanese knowledge. The lead measure is your independent variable, what you're actually changing in order to improve on your lag measures. In this case, my lead measure is the number of hours that I study Japanese deeply. In any case with a deep work project, it's always going to be the amount of hours that you spend working deeply on whatever task you choose. Discipline number 3, keep a compelling scoreboard. Cal underlines the importance of having a physical artifact in your workspace where you actually tick off days in a row, trying not to break the chain, or simply showing you your progress so that you can remind yourself and you can feel that feeling of satisfaction every time you check off another day. And lastly, accountability. In teams, you would schedule a weekly review session with your team, but working on your own, you can still review how the week went. Look over it, see when did you succeed, when did you not, why did you succeed or why did you not, and what can you do better next time? That is the most important. Improve every single week. So now, scheduled all of the things, decided I don't want to work deeply. How do I actually learn to work deeply? Well, first, you need to learn to embrace boredom. You need to stop craving distractions. Distractions are like drugs for the brain. You lose your ability to concentrate the more you get distracted, and the more you reward your brain with quick dopamine hits every time it gets distracted. In order to rewire your brain, Cal suggests something pretty radical. You don't want to take breaks from distraction and have focus be isolated special events. Instead, you want distraction to become special rare events. Your default mode of functioning should be focus. Cal says that for practical purposes, it is easiest to associate internet with distraction. So whenever you're focused, you turn off your internet, and whenever you're being distracted, the internet can be on. You need to schedule 2 types of blocks, online blocks and offline blocks. Of course, sometimes you will use online blocks in order to prepare for offline blocks, in order to download your materials and to plan things out, so schedule accordingly. And not every online block is going to be distraction. Checking email or checking Slack, those would be online blocks, even though you're technically doing work, but it is shallow work, not deep work. Deep work would always be done without the internet. Ideally, you want to schedule every single hour of your day, but of course that is hard to do. The point here is intentionality. You're trying to rewire your brain not to crave distraction every time that it gets bored. You don't need to reduce the amount of time you spend online at all. That is not the goal. The goal is just to always be very intentional with whenever you go online. And if you desperately need to check something online, then just schedule your next online block to be earlier. If you sit down to work offline and you realize you forgot to download something really, really important, then simply schedule your next online block to be 5 minutes from now. The point is to always have that little waiting window during which you're not going to go online, and so you don't immediately reward your brain for getting distracted. My plan, and this is something I'm adding on to Cal's advice, is to start small. Yes, I'm going to schedule offline and online blocks that are probably going to be like an hour and a half each or something like that. And in those blocks, I'm going to start by doing 5-minute laser focus sessions. During the rest of the time, I can lie around, stare at the ceiling, go to the bathroom, eat a snack, do whatever so that my mind can get used to focusing, but start with 5 minutes at a time. Then after a few days, I'm going to increase it to 10 minutes focus. Then 15, and eventually I want to build up to 90 minutes of focus, which is what Cal suggests here, and he says that that is the minimum amount of time you need to really, really go deep, but of course you need to train to get there because it's hard to immediately lift 100 pounds if you've never weightlifted before. Another technique that Cal mentions is productive meditation. This is for the times when your body is occupied but your mind isn't, like when you're washing the dishes, cleaning the house, doing a workout, walking somewhere. During those times, try to solve a specific problem in your job or in your project, in my case learning Japanese, and think about it. First, define what are the variables that you're operating with. What are the things that you know and the things that will play a part in deciding this problem. Then state your question. What are you trying to solve? Once you come up with an answer, repeat that to yourself a few times so that you can remember it whenever you get to your note-taking device. And the last tip is to try to finish your work by a certain time, like 5:30, and after that just have a bunch of online blocks and do whatever. My action plan for tackling this is be intentional with every time that I am allowed to go online. Because some of my activities do require going online, like using online websites for online courses and such, I am going to install an extension that blocks almost all websites except for these learning websites on my laptop, and I'm going to have limited internet access. Then I am going to build up from 5 minutes of focus at a time to eventually 90-minute blocks, which will take me maybe a few weeks, maybe a month and a half. And once I'm able to work for 90 minutes uninterrupted for at least 2 sessions a day, then I am going to take on my Japanese challenge again. And this time, I will actually learn things in 2 months. Would you like to learn more about deep work and how to do extraordinary learning projects like my Japanese project? If so, click the link that appears here to my playlist about deep work. Here I talk about multiple books and multiple strategies, and I will be adding more to this playlist as we go on and as my challenge progresses. Thank you for watching. Stay awesome. Bye bye.